But today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do the other thing philosophy does wonderfully, which is to spout truisms. Now, the truisms I'm doing are from Cicero. They're from the Republic. This is the book that defines modern politics. So an awful lot of this will seem terribly familiar and a bit boring. But remember, Cicero was the first person to ever write this down. He writes it down in about 59 BC first, and he loses his life over it. Good evening. I, Marcus Tullius Cicero, have come to you this evening with 3 words for the wise: a paradox, a duty, and a hope. So first, my friends, the paradox. It is a strange paradox, noted by ancienter philosophers than I, that all the purest forms of state are betrayed by what makes them so precious. Take a monarchy, or as you might call it, a president or prime minister. What could be better than this? You elect or appoint the greatest amongst you to wield the engine of state to all your advantage, and you all love him. That is the problem. You start to flatter, and his ears soon can only hear the vain mutterings of people who are actually besotted by his power. He loses sight of what he is doing, does not care, starts to think when things go wrong, it's somebody else's fault. People who are telling him the truth are his people. The tyranny in him grows, and in the end, he becomes just a whining fool, endlessly self-justifying the decisions that he has made. Or else becomes some dark god striding the globe in tyranny. I know. I have been there. Happy was Rome to have been built in my consulate. For my shame I wrote those words. But let us take the next pure system of government. I always do that. The aristocracy, or legislative assembly. What could be better that we elect the wisest of us to go to some parliament and discuss what they know best about? What could be better as a system? Until the arguments start. The arguments are any round and round by people who do not care anymore, and the only thing you know that unites this Senate in the end is perks. And they start to give themselves more and more money. They become wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Drown in their own corruption. And the last pure system of government I have for you is democracy, of course. Well, what could be better? Democracy is freedom, is it not? We are all free! But you know, it was Plato who said it. The trouble is freedom. Is where does it end? Is this table free? Or that tree? Or that dog? And where do my freedoms end? Am I really free to do what I want to you? What really? What price freedom? So I give you my paradox, the paradox of government. We are betrayed by our virtues, by the great gods, far more than our vices. Now, my friends, my barbarian friends, I have my duty for you. Oh, my city. Oh, Rome! If only you barbarians, you had known it, you'd have loved it quite as much as I. For led by the divine Romulus and across a nation's history, we forged a wonder the Greeks could only dream at and only talk about, the best of all possible states. Written in our lives, written in our blood, we mixed that monarchy with an aristocracy and a democracy. We bound them together in a mixed constitution, where each watched their own duties, each jealously guarded each other's rights, united as a people. Oh, it was so great. It could have lasted 1,000 years. It was beautiful, my barbarians. But to no avail. None, I tell you. What happened? Well, the people started to want more freedom, stirred up by some demagogue or other. They demanded more than their rights, and when they were turned down, they turned their back on the state, On res publica, things public, they didn't care anymore. And seeing that, the Senate started to get corrupt. It started to line its pockets, it started to row, not to care. And all the while, quiet tyranny grew. Until it burst upon us. Caesars were there. It cost me dear. So I say to you, and this is the duty I lay upon you, my barbarians, for it seems that you too are close to the fork of destiny. Do not abandon your constitution. Do not leave it behind or forget it or hope it will go away, in case something else far worse happens to you too. And finally, my friends, I offer you one last hope. Remember, as you spin around, and everything seems so dark and in despair, that you are but a fragment of the universe, pitched against the void, spinning in a universe full of songs you cannot guess, but which you are still part of. A wise man, many years after my time, wrote, "There are two things that move the human breast, the scars in the sky, and the justice in his heart." Well, it was always my contention that we must strive to make these two songs the same. Thank you, good night.